Deep within the annals of biblical history, we find a figure whose words echo through the centuries, touching hearts and challenging minds, even to this day. We're talking about Isaiah, one of the greatest prophets of the Old Testament. His book is a treasure trove of divine revelations and extraordinary visions. But what makes Isaiah's prophecies so special? Why, even after millennia, do his words continue to captivate readers and scholars around the world? Imagine yourself transported to Jerusalem over 2,700 years ago. The streets are bustling with people. The temple is the heart of religious life. And in the midst of this scene, a man arises with a message that will shake the very foundations of the nation. This man is Isaiah, and his prophecies aren't just predictions of the future. They are a profound glimpse into the very heart of God. The book of Isaiah is like a roadmap of destiny. It's not just for Israel, but for all of humanity. It's a text that challenges our understanding, mixing dark warnings with radiant promises of hope. It's as if Isaiah had access to a divine script, revealing scene by scene the cosmic drama that would unfold in the centuries to come. So what exactly did Isaiah prophesy? Well, his predictions are incredibly vast and detailed. He spoke of the rise and fall of great empires like Assyria and Babylon, foreseeing their conquests and eventual downfall with stunning accuracy. He warned his own people, the kingdom of Judah, about the consequences of their disobedience, predicting their exile. But his message wasn't one of doom alone. Isaiah also offered a powerful message of redemption. He painted a vivid picture of a future where God's people would be restored, returning to their land in a grand exodus, even more magnificent than the one from Egypt. One of the most breathtaking aspects of Isaiah's prophecies is his foretelling of the Messiah. Hundreds of years before Jesus was born, Isaiah described his life and mission in remarkable detail. He spoke of a child who would be born of a virgin, who would be called Emmanuel, meaning God with us. He prophesied about a suffering servant who would bear our griefs and carry our sorrows, who would be pierced for our transgressions and crushed for our iniquities. This servant, he said, would bring justice to the nations and be a light to the Gentiles. These passages, found in chapters like Isaiah 7, 9, and 53, are some of the most powerful and cherished in all of Scripture. Forming the bedrock of Christian theology about Jesus, it's astonishing to read these words and see how they align with the events described in the New Testament. But Isaiah's vision extends even further into the very end of time. He speaks of a new heaven and a new earth, a future reality where all creation is renewed and restored. He describes a world where the wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, and a little child will lead them. It's a vision of ultimate peace, a world free from pain, suffering, and death, where righteousness dwells forever. This eschatological hope provides a grand conclusion to the divine drama, a final promise that despite the turmoil and trials of this life, God's ultimate plan is one of complete restoration and unending joy. It's a message that has brought comfort and strength to countless generations. So how could one man possess such incredible foresight? How could his words written so long ago resonate with such power and precision today? For believers, the answer is simple: divine inspiration. Isaiah wasn't just a wise man or a skilled poet. He was a conduit for God's word. His prophecies are seen as proof that God is sovereign over history, that he knows the end from the beginning, and that his purposes will always prevail. Even for those who approach the book from a purely historical or literary perspective, the book of Isaiah is a masterpiece. Its rich imagery, complex structure, and profound theological insights make it one of the most significant works of ancient literature. The book of Isaiah isn't just an ancient text. It's a living word that continues to speak to us today. It challenges us to examine our own lives, to turn away from injustice, and to place our hope in God's promises. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, there is a light that shines, a hope that endures, and a Redeemer who saves. Whether you are a person of faith or simply a seeker of wisdom, the prophecies of Isaiah offer a journey into the heart of one of history's most profound mysteries. It's a journey worth taking. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into history and faith. Have you ever felt like your voice doesn't matter? Like the world's problems are too big to handle? Today we're diving into the life of a man who lived thousands of years ago, but whose message is more relevant than ever. His name was Isaiah, a prophet whose words have echoed through centuries, offering hope, warning, and a powerful call to action. Now, when you hear the word prophet, you might picture someone with their head in the clouds, disconnected from real life. But don't think that Isaiah was a distant man lost in heavenly visions. Oh, my dear. He was deeply engaged with his people in his time. Isaiah saw the corruption of leaders, social injustice, and religious hypocrisy, and he did not remain silent. His words were like thunder, warning of the divine judgment that would come if the people did not repent. And here is the first lesson we can learn from Isaiah: the importance of having the courage to speak the truth, even when it is inconvenient. How many times have we remained silent in the face of injustices out of fear of confrontation? Isaiah teaches us that the truth, no matter how hard it is the path to redemption. He wasn't afraid to call out the powerful, to defend the vulnerable, and to remind everyone that true faith isn't just about rituals. It's about justice and compassion. But Isaiah wasn't just a messenger of doom and gloom. Far from it. Woven into his stern warnings were some of the most beautiful and powerful promises of hope and restoration you will ever read. He spoke of a future where swords would be beaten into plowshares, where nations would no longer learn war. He prophesied about a coming servant, a figure who would suffer for the sake of others and bring healing to the world. This is the duality of Isaiah's message: a sharp critique of the present, paired with an unwavering hope for the future. It's a reminder that even in our darkest moments, there is always a glimmer of light, a promise of a new dawn. This teaches us the power of holding both accountability and hope in our hands. We must be honest about the problems we face, but we must never lose sight of the possibility of a better world. So how can we apply Isaiah's wisdom to our own lives today? First, let's cultivate that courage to speak up. It doesn't mean you have to stand on a street corner and shout. It can be as simple as having a difficult conversation with a friend, standing up for a colleague at work, or using your voice to support a cause you believe in. Every small act of courage contributes to a larger wave of change. Second, let's be people who carry hope. In a world often saturated with cynicism and despair, being a source of hope is a revolutionary act. Share stories of kindness, celebrate progress, and remind yourself and others that a better future is not just a dream, but something we can actively build together. Isaiah's message isn't just ancient history, it's a living guide for a meaningful life. Let's take a moment to reflect. Think about an area in your life or your community where you see injustice or hypocrisy. What's one small step you can take this week to speak truth into that situation? And where can you be a beacon of hope for someone who might be feeling lost? Isaiah's life shows us that one person, armed with truth and hope, can indeed make a profound difference. It's not about having all the answers or being perfect. It's about being willing to engage with the world around us, to care deeply, and to believe in the power of redemption and renewal. His legacy is a challenge to each of us to live with greater integrity and purpose. The story of Isaiah is a powerful testament to the impact one voice can have. He reminds us that faith is not a passive activity, but an active engagement with the world. It's about loving our neighbors, seeking justice for the oppressed, and holding on to hope even when things seem bleak. So let's take a page from his book. Let's be brave, let's be hopeful, and let's work to make our world a little more just and compassionate, one day at a time. The world needs your voice now more than ever. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. If this message resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content that inspires and challenges us to live better. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Till next time, stay courageous and full of hope. Have you ever felt lost? Like you're navigating a world full of chaos and uncertainty? It's a feeling we all know. But what if I told you there's an ancient book that speaks directly to this? A guide that offers clarity amidst the confusion. Today we read diving deep into one of the most powerful and enigmatic books of the Bible, the book of Isaiah. Stick around, because what we uncover might just change the way you see everything. The book of Isaiah is a literary masterpiece, a sprawling epic filled with prophecies, poetry, and profound spiritual insights. It was written over a period of great turmoil for the ancient kingdom of Judah, and at its heart is the prophet Isaiah, a man given a monumental task to speak God's truth to a nation that had lost its way. Now you might be thinking, what does a 2,700-year-old book have to do with my life today? The answer is, a lot more than you'd expect. Let's start with the tough stuff. A large part of Isaiah's message is about judgment. He calls out the people for their injustice, their empty religious rituals, and their misplaced trust in political alliances instead of in God. He paints a stark picture of the consequences of their actions, warning of invasion and exile. It's intense, and it can be uncomfortable to read. But this isn't just about fire and brimstone. Think of it like a doctor diagnosing a serious illness. The diagnosis is scary, but it's the first step toward healing. Isaiah wasn't just pointing fingers. He was holding up a mirror, forcing the people to confront the reality of their spiritual condition so they could turn back. But Isaiah's prophecies are not just about judgment. Oh no, they are a beacon of hope in the midst of darkness. This is where the book truly soars. Isaiah speaks of a future where wolves and lambs will live in peace, where swords will be turned into plowshares and nations will no longer train for war. Does it sound utopian? Perhaps, but what if these visions are an invitation to dream of a better world and to work to make it a reality? Isaiah's message is that even in the darkest times, hope is not lost. He prophesies a restoration, a return from exile, and the coming of a new king, a Messiah, who will bring justice and righteousness. One of the most fascinating things about the book of Isaiah is how it intertwines the present, the near future, and a distant future. It's as if he were watching a movie in multiple temporal dimensions at once. He speaks of the threat from the Assyrian Empire, which was an immediate danger. He then looks ahead to the Babylonian exile and the subsequent return, which was in the near future. But then he zooms out even further, to a final ultimate redemption. This layering of prophecies is what makes Isaiah so rich and complex. It shows us a God who is active and involved, not just in one moment, but across the entire span of human history. For Christians, the book of Isaiah holds a special significance. The New Testament quotes Isaiah more than any other prophetic book, seeing many of its passages as pointing directly to Jesus. The prophecies of a suffering servant who bears the sins of many, of a child born who will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. These are all found in Isaiah. It's like finding a treasure map where X marks the spot, and the spot is the life and mission of Jesus Christ. For early Christians, Isaiah provided the framework for understanding who Jesus was and what he came to do. So how do we apply this ancient wisdom to our lives in the 21st century? First, Isaiah challenges us to look at our own lives and our society. Where do we see injustice? Where have we put our trust in things other than what is truly lasting? It's a call to self-reflection and a call to action, to be people who fight for justice and care for the vulnerable, just as Isaiah urged. Second, Isaiah fills us with hope, no matter how bleak things seem, whether in our personal lives or in the world at large. Isaiah reminds us that this is not the end of the story. There is a promise of restoration, of healing, and of a future where peace reigns. The book of Isaiah is not a simple read. It's a mountain you have to climb. The view from the top is absolutely breathtaking. It offers a vision of a God who is both just and merciful, a God who judges and a God who redeems. It gives us a lens through which to view our own history and our own future. So I encourage you, pick it up, read it for yourself. Let its poetry wash over you. Wrestle with its difficult passages, and let its message of hope inspire you. You might just find that this ancient voice speaks to your modern soul in ways you never imagined. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey through Isaiah. If you found this insightful, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into ancient wisdom. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of Isaiah is, or what you'd like to explore next. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep hope alive. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to see the future? Not just next week or next year, but centuries, even millennia, ahead? Imagine having a vision so vast it spans the rise and fall of empires. A perspective that sees the grand tapestry of human history woven together. This wasn't science fiction for the prophet Isaiah, it was his reality. He lived in a time of kings and kingdoms, of political turmoil and national uncertainty, much like our own in many ways. Yet his gaze wasn't limited to the present. He saw beyond the horizon of his own era. Isaiah speaks with such authority about the events of his time, about kings and kingdoms whose names are now just footnotes in history books. But then, in the same breath, he talks about a Messiah, Savior figure, who wouldn't appear for another 700 years, and he doesn't stop there. He describes an eternal kingdom, a future state of perfect peace and justice that is still to come. Just think about that for a moment. What would it be like to possess that kind of panoramic view of history? How would it change the way we look at our own lives, our own daily struggles and triumphs? Perhaps, if we had Isaiah's perspective, we'd learn to see beyond our immediate circumstances. We'd understand that the challenges we face today, as daunting as they may seem, are just a single thread in a much larger, more beautiful design. We might learn to trust that there is a greater plan at work, a purpose unfolding that is far bigger than our individual worries. This isn't about ignoring our problems, but about reframing them, seeing them as part of a journey towards something incredible. It's about cultivating a deep-seated hope that transcends the ups and downs of everyday life. And speaking of that greater plan, we absolutely cannot overlook Isaiah's Messianic prophecies. These aren't vague, cryptic predictions. They are so precise, so stunningly detailed, that many scholars and theologians have called the book of Isaiah the fifth gospel. Think about it. Long before Jesus was born in Bethlehem, Isaiah wrote of a virgin who would conceive and bear a son. He described a servant who would suffer for the sins of others, who would be pierced for our transgressions and crushed for our iniquities. He prophesied that this figure would be despised and rejected, a man of sorrows, acquainted with the deepest grief. Yet, through his suffering, he would bring healing and redemption. Isaiah 53 in particular reads like a first-hand account of the Passion story. It's so vivid, so emotionally resonant, you can almost feel the weight of the words. How could a man living in the 8th century BC write with such clarity about events that would happen in the 1st century AD? It's a question that has captivated minds for centuries. These prophecies are more than just historical curiosities. They are the bedrock of a faith that has shaped the world. They offer a powerful testament to a plan set in motion before time began. They invite us to consider the possibility of divine foresight, of a narrative being written by an author who sees the end from the beginning. Whether you approach these texts from a position of faith or simply as a historical puzzle, their precision is undeniable and frankly breathtaking. But Isaiah's vision extends even further into our future. He paints a picture of a new heaven and a new earth, a world renewed and restored. He speaks of a time when the wolf will live with the lamb and the leopard will lie down with the goat. It's a vision of ultimate shalom, of perfect peace and harmony, where suffering, pain, and death are no more. This isn't just a fairy tale ending. It's a profound promise of cosmic renewal. It's the final chapter in the grand story that began with creation. This future kingdom is a place where justice reigns, where every tear is wiped away, and where all of creation is reconciled. It's the ultimate hope that Isaiah holds out, not just for his people, but for all humanity. This vision gives context to everything else he wrote. The suffering servant, the rise and fall of nations, it all points towards this glorious conclusion. It reminds us that history is not a random series of events, but a story moving toward a purposeful and beautiful end. So what does this ancient prophet have to say to us today, living in the 21st century? I think Isaiah challenges us to lift our eyes from our screens, from our immediate worries, and to consider the bigger picture. He invites us to live with a sense of perspective, rooted in the knowledge that our lives are part of a story much grander than we can imagine. He calls us to live with hope, not a flimsy optimism, but a robust confidence in a future secured by a promise. And he encourages us to find our place in this unfolding story, to live in a way that reflects the values of that coming kingdom: justice, mercy, and peace. Isaiah's message is as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. It's a timeless call to see beyond the now and trust in the grand unfolding plan. Thanks so much for watching. If this story sparked something in you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. See you in the next video. Have you ever stumbled upon an ancient text that seems to predict the future with uncanny accuracy? A book that feels less like history and more like a roadmap for events yet to unfold? Today, we re-diving into one of the most enigmatic and profound books ever written, the Book of Isaiah. It's a text that has fascinated scholars, believers, and skeptics for thousands of years, and for good reason. It's packed with prophecies that are so specific, so detailed that they seem to defy all rational explanation. At the heart of Isaiah's writings is the figure of a suffering servant. This is a truly revolutionary concept. In the ancient world, heroes were conquerors, powerful kings, and mighty warriors. But Isaiah paints a different picture. He speaks of a servant who will be despised, rejected, and will bear the griefs and sorrows of others. This servant's suffering isn't a sign of weakness, but a path to redemption for many, Isaiah writes. He was pierced for our transgressions. He was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. Who is this mysterious figure? This prophecy challenges our very notions of power and sacrifice, suggesting that true strength lies not in dominance, but in selfless love and vicarious suffering. It's a message that was radical then and remains just as powerful today. Then there's the prophecy of a king born of a virgin. Isaiah 7:14 declares, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel." The name Emmanuel itself means God with us. Think about that for a moment. This isn't just about a miraculous birth. It's about the very nature of God choosing to dwell among humanity, to be with us in our struggles and our joys. For Christians, this prophecy is a cornerstone of their faith, finding its ultimate fulfillment in the birth of Jesus Christ. But even looking at it from a purely historical and literary perspective, the idea of a virgin birth signals something extraordinary. A divine intervention that breaks the natural order of things to usher in a new era. Isaiah doesn't stop there. He also prophesies a ruler who will bring about an age of everlasting peace. In a world that has always been plagued by war and conflict, this is a promise that resonates deeply within the human soul. Isaiah chapter 9 paints a picture of this ruler. "For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." This isn't a peace enforced by military might, but a peace that comes from justice and righteousness. Isaiah describes a kingdom where the wolf will live with the lamb, and they will neither harm nor destroy on all my holy mountain. It's a vision of perfect harmony, a world restored. This prophecy speaks to our deepest longings for a world without violence, fear, or oppression. For countless people around the world, especially within the Christian faith, these prophecies find their perfect and complete fulfillment in the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth. The suffering servant who takes on the sins of the world, the child born of a virgin named Emmanuel, the Prince of Peace, who establishes an eternal kingdom. They see all these threads woven together in the person of Jesus. It provides a cohesive narrative that spans from ancient prophecy to a historical event, offering a profound sense of meaning and divine purpose. But here's what makes Isaiah so universally compelling, even if you don't share that specific faith. The book forces us to ask some of the biggest questions of life. Reading these ancient words, you can't help but wonder, is there a grand design to human history? Are we simply adrift in a sea of random events? Or are we moving towards some kind of cosmic climax, a final resolution? These prophecies hint at a story that's bigger than any single individual, nation, or empire. They suggest that our history is not just a series of disconnected events, but a narrative with a beginning, a middle, and a purposeful end. What truly makes the book of Isaiah so captivating is that it transcends being just a religious text. It is a literary masterpiece of immense beauty and power. The poetry is breathtaking, the imagery is vivid, and the emotional depth is profound. Isaiah was a master storyteller, a poet-prophet whose words have echoed through the centuries, inspiring art, music, and literature. His work deals with universal themes of justice, redemption, hope, and despair. It's a book that can be studied for its historical context, analyzed for its literary brilliance, and contemplated for its spiritual insights. Whether you see it as divine revelation, a work of literary genius, or a fascinating historical artifact, The book of Isaiah offers a rich and rewarding journey for anyone willing to explore its depths. It challenges our assumptions, sparks our imagination, and invites us to look for a deeper meaning in the world around us. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of Isaiah's prophecies. If you found this as fascinating as I do, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into history, philosophy, and the great texts that have shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which prophecy stood out to you the most. Until next time, keep questioning and keep exploring. Isaiah's language is just incredible, isn't it? It's filled with these powerful metaphors and stunning images. He talks about mountains melting like wax, about deserts bursting into bloom like roses. It's truly poetry at its absolute finest, a masterclass in using words to paint a picture in your mind. And that brings us to a really important lesson we can draw from Isaiah today: the sheer power of language and communication. Think about the world we live in right now. We're constantly bombarded with information. Tweets, headlines, notifications, endless streams of content. It's a non-stop barrage. In this sea of noise, how do you make your voice heard? How can you say something that genuinely connects with people, something that truly touches their hearts and minds? Maybe, just maybe, the answer lies in what Isaiah was doing thousands of years ago. Perhaps we need to rediscover the magic of poetic language. We need to find those metaphors that don't just explain an idea, but make it come alive, sparking the imagination and creating a real emotional connection. Words that aren't just consumed, but felt. But here's a crucial point. Do I get the wrong idea and think Isaiah was just some dreamy poet with his head in the clouds? Far from it. His prophecies, as beautiful and poetic as they are, were deeply rooted in the solid, messy, concrete reality of his time. He was talking about real kings, real wars, real social injustices, and the real political turmoil that was happening right in front of him. He wasn't escaping reality, he was interpreting it, shining a light on it with his powerful words. This shows us something profound. The most impactful communication, the kind that truly endures, isn't just about pretty words. It's about combining that poetic spark with a firm grasp on reality. It's the fusion of imagination and truth. When you can take a complex, real-world issue and explain it with a metaphor so perfect that it clicks in someone's mind, that's where the magic happens. That's when you move from simply informing to truly inspiring. Isaiah was a social critic, a political advisor, and a spiritual guide all rolled into one. He used his gift for language to challenge the powerful, to comfort the afflicted, and to call his people back to their core values. He warned them about the consequences of their actions, not with dry statistics, but with images of desolation that were impossible to ignore. He also offered hope, not with vague promises, but with visions of a future so beautiful and just that it felt attainable. A world where lions lie down with lambs. What a powerful image of peace and reconciliation. So, what does this mean for us? Right here, right now. Whether you're a writer, a teacher, a leader, an artist, or just someone trying to communicate better with your friends and family, there's a lesson here. Don't be afraid to be a little more poetic. Look for the images, the stories, the metaphors that can bring your ideas to life. But at the same time, stay grounded. Know your subject. Understand the reality you're dealing with, and speak with authenticity and conviction. The next time you need to share an important message, think of Isaiah. Don't just present the facts. Paint a picture. Don't just list the problems. Evoke the feeling. Connect your beautiful language to the hard ground of reality. By blending the poetic with the practical, we can cut through the noise and create communication that not only gets heard, but is also remembered, felt, and acted upon. That's a legacy of communication worth striving for. Thanks so much for watching. If this resonated with you, I'd love it if you'd like this video and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one. Have you ever wondered what it's like to have a direct line to the divine? To receive a message so profound it changes the course of history? That's exactly what happened to the prophet Isaiah. His divine calling isn't just a story from an ancient text. It's a pivotal moment in the history of biblical prophecy, and it holds powerful lessons for us today. Imagine this. One moment, Isaiah is a man living his life in Jerusalem. In the next, he's in the presence of the Almighty, receiving a commission that will define his entire existence. It's a scene of incredible awe and majesty, a moment where the veil between heaven and earth is torn open. This wasn't just a vague spiritual experience. Isaiah's calling was specific, intense, and came with a heavy responsibility. He was tasked with delivering God's message to the people of Judah, a message that was often difficult and unpopular. He had to speak truth to power, challenge injustice, and call a nation back to its spiritual roots. This journey from an ordinary individual to a prophet of God is a powerful testament to how a divine encounter can transform a person's life and purpose. It shows us that when we are called to something greater, it requires courage, faith, and a willingness to step into the unknown. Now, you might think a prophet's job is all about spiritual matters, detached from the real world. But Isaiah shatters that stereotype. When you read his words, you'll find he's not just talking about heavenly visions. He names kings. He speaks of intricate political alliances, and he comments directly on the economic situation of his day. He's deeply engaged with the nitty-gritty of society. This is a crucial reminder for all of us. Authentic spirituality does undistance us from the world. It engages us more deeply with it. It compels us to care about justice, to be aware of the political landscape, and to understand the economic forces that shape people's lives. This brings us to a really important question, one that many of us struggle with. How do we balance our spiritual vision with our practical involvement in the world? How do we keep our focus on higher ideals while dealing with daily realities like bills, jobs, and politics? Isaiah's life is a masterclass in this very challenge. He shows us that it's not only possible, but necessary to have our feet firmly on the ground while our eyes are fixed on the sky. He didn't retreat into a monastery. He walked the streets of Jerusalem, spoke in the royal court, and addressed the pressing issues of his time, all while carrying a divine message. His example teaches us that our faith should inform our actions in the world, not remove us from it. So, how can we apply this in our own lives? It starts by recognizing that our spiritual journey and our worldly responsibilities are not separate compartments. They are interwoven. Like Isaiah, we are called to be people of vision and action. This means being informed about what's happening around us, participating in our communities, and striving for justice and compassion in our spheres of influence. It means praying for wisdom and then rolling up our sleeves to be part of the solution. Isaiah's prophetic ministry wasn't about escapism. It was about transformation. He aimed to transform his society from the inside out, fueled by his divine calling. He saw the world as it was, but he also held on to a vision of what it could be. That's the powerful invitation he extends to us as well, to be agents of positive change, grounded in reality, but inspired by a heavenly vision. Thank you so much for joining me on this exploration of Isaiah's incredible calling. I hope it's given you some food for thought on how you can integrate your own spiritual life with your engagement in the world. If you found this message inspiring, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into timeless wisdom. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Till next time, stay curious and stay engaged. Have you ever had a moment that completely changed the course of your life? A single event that shifted your perspective and set you on a new path? Today, we're diving into one of the most profound and transformative moments in biblical history, the calling of the prophet Isaiah. This isn't just an ancient story. It's a powerful narrative about encountering the divine, confronting our own shortcomings, and discovering a purpose far greater than ourselves. This landmark event takes place in the Temple of Jerusalem, the very heart of religious life for the people of Israel. The year is heavy with significance. It's the year King Uzziah died. Uzziah had been a long-reigning, prosperous king, but his reign ended in tragedy when he was struck with leprosy for arrogantly trying to perform a priestly duty. So, in this atmosphere of political uncertainty and spiritual reflection, Isaiah enters the temple, and what he sees is absolutely breathtaking. The book of Isaiah, chapter 6, describes it vividly. He sees the Lord sitting on a throne, high and exalted. The sheer scale of this vision is hard to comprehend. The train of God's robe alone filled the entire temple. Imagine that for a second. The holiest place on earth, a magnificent structure, is completely dwarfed by just the hem of God's garment. This striking image isn't just about size. It's about conveying the unparalleled greatness, the overwhelming majesty, and the absolute sovereignty of God in a time of earthly instability. With a human king gone, Isaiah is shown the true king, unshakable and eternal, ruling over everything. Surrounding the throne were incredible celestial beings called seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces in reverence, with 2 they covered their feet in humility, and with 2 they flew. They weren't silent observers. They were actively worshiping, calling out to one another in a chorus that shook the very foundations of the temple. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of His glory. This threefold declaration of holiness, known as the Trisagion, emphasizes God's absolute purity and separation from all sin and imperfection. The sound was so powerful that the doorposts and thresholds trembled, and the entire temple filled with smoke, a common biblical symbol of God's presence. Now, how would you react in a situation like that? Isaiah's response is one of absolute terror and despair. He cries out, "Woe to me, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." In the overwhelming presence of pure holiness, Isaiah is immediately and painfully aware of his own sinfulness. It's not just about his personal faults. He sees himself as part of a sinful community. He feels completely undone, unworthy to even be in the presence of such a holy God. This is a crucial moment. Before we can be used by God, we often have to come to terms with who we are in light of who He is. But the story doesn't end with Isaiah's despair. God's response is one of grace, not condemnation. One of the seraphim flies to him, holding a live coal that he had taken with tongs from the altar. He touches Isaiah's mouth with it and says, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for." The altar was the place of sacrifice and atonement. So this act symbolizes a divine cleansing. The very thing Isaiah identified as his source of impurity, his unclean lips, is purified by fire from God, his altar. This isn't a punishment. It's a powerful act of forgiveness and preparation. God doesn't just point out the problem, He provides the solution. And it's only after this moment of confession and cleansing that Isaiah hears the call. The voice of the Lord asks, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" Notice the question isn't directed specifically at Isaiah. It's an open call. But because Isaiah has now been purified and made ready, his response is immediate and unhesitating. He says, "Here am I, send me." He doesn't ask where he's going, what the job entails, or what the pay is. He just offers himself completely. His encounter with God's majesty and grace has transformed him from a man of despair to a willing servant. What follows is a tough assignment. God tells Isaiah that his message will largely be rejected. The people will hear but not understand, see but not perceive. Their hearts will become calloused. This is a difficult reality for any messenger, but Isaiah, armed with the memory of the holy king on the throne, accepts his commission. Isaiah's vision is a profound reminder for all of us. It shows us that a true encounter with God reveals His majesty, our sinfulness, and His incredible grace. It's in that space of humility and forgiveness that we find our true calling. Maybe you're in a place of uncertainty like Israel after King Uzziah's death. Perhaps you feel unworthy, like Isaiah did. This story tells us that God can meet us right where we are, cleanse us, and give us a purpose that echoes into eternity. It all starts with seeing Him for who He is. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into these powerful narratives. See you next time. Have you ever felt lost during a time of great change? Wondering where to turn? As Isaiah, one of the most significant prophets, experienced something similar? His powerful calling didn't happen in a moment of peace and quiet. Instead, it unfolded during a major political shift, a time filled with uncertainty and transition. This just goes to show that some of the most profound spiritual moments can happen when everything around us feels like it's in flux. Isaiah's vision wasn't just a fleeting image. It was a deeply symbolic and awe-inspiring scene. He describes God seated on a throne, high and exalted, the train of His robe filling the entire temple. This isn't just about size. It's about majesty and absolute sovereignty. In a world where human kings come and go, Isaiah saw the one true king who reigns forever. The throne itself symbolizes ultimate authority and justice, a steady anchor in the turbulent sea of human history. But Isaiah wasn't alone in this divine encounter. Above the throne, he saw celestial beings called seraphim. The name seraphim means the burning ones, suggesting an intense purity and fiery passion for God. Their appearance is fascinating and deeply meaningful. Each seraph had 6 wings. With 2 wings, they covered their faces, a gesture of profound humility and reverence, showing that even the holiest of beings cannot look directly upon the full glory of God. With another 2 wings, they covered their feet. This is another act of humility, perhaps symbolizing their unworthiness to stand on holy ground without covering. It reminds us that in the presence of pure holiness, a sense of our own imperfection becomes clear. And finally, with the remaining 2 wings, they flew. This wasn't just aimless fluttering. It represented their readiness and speed to carry out God's commands. They are constantly in motion, serving and worshiping. What were these incredible beings doing? They were crying out to one another in a continuous, echoing chorus, and their words have resonated through centuries. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. This threefold repetition, known as the Trasion, isn't just for emphasis. It signifies holiness in its absolute, most perfect form. It's a declaration that God is utterly separate from sin and imperfection. He is pure, righteous, and completely other. Think about that for a moment. They don't just say God is holy in heaven. They proclaim that the whole earth is full of his glory. This means that even in our messy, complicated world, signs of God's majesty and presence are everywhere if we only have the eyes to see them. From the grandest mountain range to the smallest act of kindness, his glory is woven into the fabric of creation. The seraphim's cry is a call for us to recognize this reality. The effect of this proclamation was immediate and dramatic. Isaiah says that the foundations of the thresholds shook at the sound of their voices, and the temple was filled with smoke. The shaking ground signifies the sheer power of the divine word. When God's holiness is declared, it's not a gentle whisper. It's a force that can shake the very foundations of our reality. The smoke is reminiscent of other moments in Scripture where God's presence is revealed, symbolizing mystery, purity, and the unapproachable nature of his glory. Faced with this overwhelming display of holiness and power, how did Isaiah react? He didn't feel empowered or proud. He was utterly undone. His response was, "Woe is me, for I am lost. For I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." In the brilliant light of God's perfection, Isaiah saw his own sinfulness with painful clarity. He felt completely unworthy and unclean. This moment of crushing self-awareness is the crucial turning point. Before we can be used by God, we often first have to see ourselves as we truly are in comparison to his holiness. But this wasn't the end for Isaiah. One of the seraphim flew to him, holding a burning coal taken from the altar with a pair of tongs. The seraph touched Isaiah's lips with the coal and declared, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." This act is a powerful picture of grace and purification. The fire that represents God's holiness doesn't just destroy, it also cleanses. The very thing that made Isaiah feel unworthy, his unclean lips, was touched and made clean. It's a beautiful promise that when we confess our brokenness, God doesn't cast us aside. He meets us in our weakness and provides a way for forgiveness and restoration. It's only after this moment of grace that Isaiah is able to hear God's call and respond. Then, Isaiah heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Notice God doesn't command, he invites. He asks for a volunteer. And Isaiah, newly cleansed and forgiven, with his lips now consecrated for a holy purpose, responds without hesitation, "Here am I. Send me." His journey from being a man undone by his sin to becoming a willing messenger for God is a testament to the transformative power of encountering divine holiness and grace. This entire vision serves as the foundation for Isaiah's prophetic ministry. It gave him his message, the holiness of God and his authority to speak. It shows us that a true calling is born from a genuine encounter with God, an understanding of his character, a realization of our own need for grace, and a willing heart to serve. It's a powerful reminder that even in times of change and personal struggle, God can meet us, cleanse us, and call us to a purpose far greater than ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this journey into Isaiah's incredible vision. If this story resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into timeless wisdom. See you in the next one. Have you ever had a moment where you felt completely out of your depth? A moment so overwhelming, so inspiring, that it made you feel small and insignificant? That is exactly what happened to the prophet Isaiah in one of the most powerful scenes in the entire Bible. Imagine this. Isaiah is in the temple, and suddenly he's given a vision. Not just any vision, but a vision of the very throne room of God. He sees the Lord sitting on a throne, high and exalted, and the train of his robe fills the entire temple. Above him are seraphim, angelic beings with 6 wings, calling out to one another, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord Almighty. The whole earth is full of his glory." The sound of their voices shakes the foundations of the temple, and the entire place fills with smoke. Can you even begin to picture the sheer majesty and power of that scene? It's a sensory overload of holiness, a direct encounter with the creator of the universe. Now, how would you react in that situation? Maybe with shock, awe, fear? Isaiah's reaction is incredibly human and deeply relatable. Faced with this display of absolute purity and divine perfection, he doesn't celebrate or feel chosen. Instead, he's crushed by a sudden, overwhelming awareness of his own flaws. His first words are a cry of despair. "Woe to me, I am ruined." Why such a strong reaction? Explains, "For I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." It's a fascinating and profound confession. Notice he doesn't list a bunch of bad things he's done. He focuses on his lips, his words. In that culture, speech was seen as a direct reflection of the heart. So when Isaiah says he has unclean lips, he's really saying his very essence. His inner being is impure and falls short. This isn't just about Isaiah feeling bad about himself. It's a fundamental spiritual principle. The closer we get to a source of perfect light, the more clearly we see the dust and smudges on ourselves. It's like being in a dimly lit room where you think everything is clean. But then someone throws open the curtains on a sunny day, and suddenly you see dust motes dancing in the air everywhere. God's holiness is that sunlight. It reveals what was always there, but was previously hidden in the shadows of our own self-perception. This feeling of unworthiness isn't unique to Isaiah. It's a recurring theme for many who have profound encounters with the divine. Think about Peter after the miraculous catch of fish, falling at Jesus' knees and saying, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." Or Job, who after arguing with God for chapters finally sees him and declares, "My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." There's a pattern here. A true vision of God leads to a true vision of ourselves. But here's where the story takes a beautiful turn. God doesn't leave Isaiah in his despair. His cry of "woe is me" isn't the end, it's the beginning. It's the necessary first step toward true cleansing and commissioning. One of the seraphim flies to him, holding a live coal taken from the altar with tongs. He touches Isaiah's mouth with it and says, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for." This act is symbolic of divine grace and forgiveness. The fire that represents God's holiness, the very thing that made Isaiah feel unworthy, becomes the instrument of his purification. It's a powerful message. God doesn't just reveal our brokenness to shame us. He reveals it so he can heal it. The recognition of our need is the doorway through which his grace can enter. Only after Isaiah is cleansed does he hear the call of God, "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" And now, transformed by grace, Isaiah can confidently reply, "Here am I, send me." This story from thousands of years ago still speaks to us today. We all have moments where we feel our own unclean lips, the harsh words we've spoken, the gossip we've engaged in, the truths we've failed to speak. We all carry a sense of falling short. Isaiah's experience reminds us that acknowledging this isn't a cause for despair, but an invitation. It's an invitation to allow God's grace to meet us in our unworthiness, to cleanse us, and to empower us for a purpose far greater than ourselves. The journey to being used by God often begins with the honest, humble cry, "Woe is me." It's in that place of vulnerability that we truly find our strength in Him. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more content that dives deep into these timeless truths. See you next time. Have you ever felt completely unworthy? Like you're just not good enough for a big task ahead? It's a feeling we all know. The prophet Isaiah felt it on a whole other level. Imagine this. Isaiah has a vision of God on his throne, surrounded by incredible celestial beings called seraphim. He's so overwhelmed by this holy sight that he cries out, "Woe to me, I am ruined. For I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty." He's basically saying he's a mess and has no business being in such a holy presence. But what happens next is truly amazing. It's a powerful symbol of grace and transformation. One of the seraphim flies over to Isaiah, but this isn't just any angelic visit. In its hand, held with a pair of tongs, is a glowing live coal taken directly from the sacred altar. Can you picture the intensity of that moment? A piece of burning fire, holy and pure, coming right towards him. The seraph touches this coal to Isaiah's lips. You'd expect it to burn, to cause immense pain, but instead, it brings purification. The seraph declares, "See, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away and your sin atoned for." In that single symbolic act, everything changes. The feeling of unworthiness, the stain of his confessed unclean lips, is wiped away. It's not about Isaiah making himself worthy. It's about a divine act of cleansing. This isn't just about forgiveness. It's about preparation. God doesn't just forgive our past. He prepares us for our future. He purifies us for a purpose. This moment represents the essential step of being made ready for a holy calling. You can't step into a divine mission carrying the weight of your old self. There needs to be a transformation. And the transformation in Isaiah is immediate and profound. Right after this purification, Isaiah hears the voice of the Lord. The question echoes through the heavens, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" For Isaiah was hiding in fear, convinced of his own inadequacy. But now, cleansed and renewed, his response is instantaneous. There's no hesitation, no second guessing, no "Are you sure you want me?" He doesn't list his qualifications or his doubts. His spirit, now free, leaps forward. He says, "Here am I, send me." It's one of the most powerful and willing responses in all of Scripture. This shift is incredible. It goes from "Woe is me, I am ruined," to "Here am I, send me." What changed? He was touched by grace. He experienced a purification that he couldn't achieve on his own. It teaches us something so important. Often, we focus on our own flaws and think they disqualify us from doing anything meaningful. We look at our unclean lips, our past mistakes, our fears, our insecurities, and we hide. We think we need to fix ourselves completely before we can be used for a greater purpose. But this story shows us a different path. It's about acknowledging our need for help, accepting the purification that is offered, and then, with newfound freedom and confidence, stepping up when the call comes. The call wasn't a demand, it was an invitation. Who will go for us? And because Isaiah had been prepared, he was ready to accept that invitation with his whole heart. His immediate yes wasn't born from arrogance or pride. It was born from gratitude and a deep understanding that the same power that cleansed him would also be the power that would go with him. It's a reminder for all of us that when we feel the call to do something more, to step into a new role, or to serve in some way, the first step isn't to perfect ourselves. The first step is to allow ourselves to be made ready. It's to accept the cleansing and then, with a heart full of faith, to be able to say, "I'm ready, send me." Thank you so much for joining me to explore this powerful story. If it resonated with you, please like this video and subscribe for more content like this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time. Have you ever felt a strong pull towards something? A calling, even if you couldn't see the full picture? It's a feeling that can be both exhilarating and terrifying. Today, we're diving into the story of a man who answered such a call. A prophet named Isaiah, and his journey is one of incredible faith and courage. Imagine this. Isaiah has this powerful, inspiring vision of God on his throne. It's a moment that completely humbles him, making him feel unworthy. But then an angel touches his lips with a burning coal, symbolizing his purification. Right after this intense experience, Isaiah hears a question from God. Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Without a moment's hesitation, Isaiah's response is immediate and absolute. Here am I. Send me. Think about that for a second. He doesn't ask for a job description. He doesn't ask about the salary, the benefits, or the risks involved. He simply offers himself, fully and willingly, ready to serve. This shows an amazing level of trust. Isaiah's willingness to step forward without knowing what the mission would be is a powerful example of faith in action. He commits himself completely to God's will, trusting that he will be guided and equipped for whatever lies ahead. But here's the twist. This wasn't going to be an easy assignment. In fact, it was the opposite. God's call on Isaiah's life was not for a comfortable, popular ministry. The Lord sends him to deliver a very difficult message to his own people. He has to confront them, to warn them about the severe consequences of their actions, their persistent disobedience, and their wavering faith. This wasn't a message of praise and encouragement. It was a tough-loved reality check. Can you imagine being in Isaiah's shoes? You've just had this incredible, divine encounter, and your first task is to go tell everyone they're on the wrong path. It would take immense courage. Isaiah had to stand against the tide of popular opinion, to speak truth even when it was unwelcome. He couldn't just tell people what they wanted to hear. His mission required him to be a voice of warning, a spiritual watchdog for his nation, calling them back to God before it was too late. This part of his story reminds us that answering a higher calling often means choosing the hard road over the easy one. Now let's get into the specifics of the message itself, because this is where it gets really challenging. The message God gives Isaiah to deliver is paradoxical, and honestly, a bit heartbreaking. God tells him to go and say this to the people. Be ever hearing, but never understanding. Be ever seeing, but never perceiving. He's sent to speak, but he's told that the people won't truly get it. What does this mean? It means the people's hearts had become so hardened by their choices that even when they heard the truth, it wouldn't sink in. They would see the evidence of God's warnings all around them, but they wouldn't connect the dots. Their spiritual senses were dulled. It's like trying to explain color to someone who has chosen to keep their eyes shut tight. The information is there, but the reception is blocked. This was the core of Isaiah's difficult mission. He was called to be a faithful messenger, even knowing his words might fall on deaf ears. He had to preach to a generation that was spiritually numb, a people who were content in their ignorance. It's a sobering thought that it's possible to hear truth constantly and yet remain completely unchanged by it. Isaiah's task was to deliver the message regardless of the outcome, to be obedient to the call, even in the face of apparent failure. His success wasn't measured by how many people converted, but by his faithfulness in delivering the message he was given. Isaiah's story is a profound lesson in faith, obedience, and the nature of a divine calling. It teaches us that sometimes the most important thing is simply to say yes when we feel called, even without all the answers. It shows us that true courage isn't the absence of difficulty, but the willingness to face it head-on. And it reminds us to keep our own hearts open, to be ever hearing and understanding, ever seeing and perceiving the truth in our own lives. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore this incredible story. If you found this reflection meaningful, please give this video a like and consider subscribing for more content like this. We'd love to have you as part of our community. We'd see you in the next video. Let's talk about a part of Isaiah's calling that really hits home, especially when we think about what it means to speak truth in a world that doesn't always want to hear it. This section of his story brings to light a tough but common reality in prophetic ministry. The job of delivering messages that are frankly unpopular, and then having to deal with the pushback from the people you're trying to reach. It's a powerful lesson in resilience and commitment to a higher purpose. To truly get what's happening with Isaiah, we have to zoom out and look at the bigger picture of Israel at that time. Imagine a nation literally split in two. You had the kingdom of Israel in the north and the kingdom of Judah in the south. This division wasn't just geographical, it was political and spiritual. Both kingdoms were constantly looking over their shoulders, worried about threats from powerful empires like Assyria and Egypt. It was a time of high tension, with armies on the march and political alliances shifting like sand. But the problems weren't just external. Internally, things were a mess. Corruption was rampant, seeping into the very fabric of society. Social injustice was a major issue, with the rich getting richer at the expense of the poor and vulnerable. The legal system was often skewed to favor the powerful. The spiritual leaders were, in many cases, failing to guide the people back to their core values. It was a society teetering on the edge, struggling with a deep identity crisis. It's into this incredibly complex and volatile situation that Isaiah's calling emerges. This isn't some peaceful, quiet time. This is a moment of national crisis, and that's precisely when a prophetic voice is most needed. Think about it often in the midst of chaos and confusion, that the clearest voices of truth and warning rise up. When a nation is losing its way, when its leaders are corrupt, and its people are suffering, that's when someone needs to stand up and say, wait, this is not right. We've lost our path. Isaiah's commission from God is intense. He is told, go and tell this people, be ever hearing, but never understanding. Be ever seeing, but never perceiving. This sounds incredibly harsh, almost cruel. God is essentially telling Isaiah that the people's hearts will be hardened. They will hear his words, but they won't truly listen. They will see the signs, but they won't understand what they mean. Their spiritual senses will be dulled. This part of the calling, the hardening of the heart, has been debated by scholars for centuries. Is God actively making the people stubborn? Or is this a description of the natural consequence of their continued rebellion? The most common understanding is the latter. It's not that God is zapping them with some kind of spiritual blindness ray. It's more like a diagnosis. The people have been ignoring the truth for so long that their ability to recognize it has atrophied. It's like when you ignore a small pain for years, and eventually the nerve just dies. Can't feel anything there anymore. The people's resistance has created its own spiritual callus, making them unable to receive the healing and correction that Isaiah's message offers. Isaiah's reaction to this is heartbreaking. He asks, "For how long, Lord?" It's a cry of despair. He's basically asking, how long will this go on? How long do I have to preach to people who won't listen? Till what point of destruction? The answer he receives is just as devastating. It will continue until the cities are in ruins, the houses are empty, and the land is utterly desolate. It's a prophecy of judgment and exile, a consequence of the nation's persistent unfaithfulness. But Dan, this is so important. There's a glimmer of hope at the very end. Even in this message of destruction, God promises that a remnant will remain. A holy seed will be left in the stump of the felled tree. This tiny detail is everything. It transforms a message of pure judgment into one of judgment with a purpose. It means that the destruction is not the end of the story. It's a pruning, a refining fire that will burn away the dross but leave something pure behind. From that remnant, that holy seed, a new beginning is possible. So Isaiah's ministry is defined by this dual reality. On one hand, he has to deliver a message he knows will be rejected, leading to judgment. On the other hand, he carries the promise of a future, of a faithful remnant through which God will continue his work. This makes his prophetic role not just about announcing doom, but also about preserving hope. It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, when it feels like no one is listening and everything is falling apart, there is still a seed of hope for renewal and restoration. It's a powerful message that resonates far beyond ancient Israel, speaking to our own struggles and our own need for hope in times of crisis. Thanks so much for watching. If this story resonates with you, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into these powerful narratives. See you in the next video. Isaiah's ministry, which began with this dramatic calling, would last for several decades and span the reigns of various kings of Judah. Just imagine, single calling shaping a lifetime of work, influencing kings and kingdoms for generations. Throughout this entire period, Isaiah would face significant challenges. Think about it. You're given a divine message, but the people you're meant to deliver it to just don't want to hear it. He faced intense resistance to his message, political intrigue, and even direct threats to his personal safety. It's one thing to receive a powerful vision, but it's another thing entirely to live it out day after day, year after year, especially when the going gets tough. Yet despite all the opposition and the very real danger, Isaiah remained faithful to his calling. He demonstrated a remarkable, almost unbelievable courage and determination. He wasn't just a messenger. He was a living testament to the message itself, embodying perseverance in the face of adversity. He stood firm, a rock against the tides of doubt and rebellion. This incredible story of Isaiah's experience, his calling, it naturally raises some pretty important questions for all of us today. Questions about our own vocation and purpose. How do we recognize our own calling in life? Is it always a dramatic, sky-opening vision like Isaiah's? Or can it be a quiet whisper, a gentle nudge, a deep-seated passion that just won't go away? How do we distinguish a true calling from a fleeting interest or a passing ambition? And once we feel we've found that calling, what comes next? What kind of preparation is necessary to fulfill our mission? Isaiah's vision involved a powerful act of purification. He was made ready for his task. For us, this preparation might look different. It could mean years of education, practicing a skill until it becomes second nature. Or maybe it's about developing character, cultivating patience, empathy, and resilience. It's about asking ourselves, what are the unclean lips in my own life? What are the fears, the insecurities, the bad habits that are holding me back from fully embracing my purpose? What needs to be touched by that burning coal so that I can be cleansed and sent out with confidence? Isaiah's story isn't just ancient history, it's a blueprint. It shows us that a calling requires not just an initial moment of inspiration, but also a continuous process of preparation and a steadfast commitment to see it through, no matter the obstacles. The journey of fulfilling a calling is rarely a straight line. It's filled with twists, turns, and moments where you might question everything. But Isaiah's life teaches us that faithfulness isn't about the absence of difficulty. It's about our response in the midst of it. It's about holding on to that initial "here I am, send me" moment and letting it fuel you through the long and often challenging road ahead. It's about trusting that the one who calls you will also equip you for the journey. So as we reflect on Isaiah, let's also look inward. What is that spark within you? What unique mission are you being prepared for? Answering these questions is the first step on a journey that could define the rest of your life. It's a profound and personal exploration, one that connects us to this timeless story of purpose and divine commission. Thank you so much for watching and exploring these deep questions with me. If this resonated with you, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. See you in the next one. Have you ever felt a tug on your heart? A calling to something bigger than yourself, but felt completely unworthy or unprepared? You're not alone. In fact, one of the most powerful stories about answering a call comes from someone who felt exactly that way, the prophet Isaiah. His story isn't just ancient history. It's a timeless lesson in availability, authenticity, and the incredible power of transformation. Let's journey back to the temple in Jerusalem around the 8th century BC. Imagine Isaiah, an ordinary man, suddenly witnessing an uninspiring vision of God on his throne. The room is filled with celestial beings, the foundations shake, and the air is thick with smoke. In this overwhelming presence of pure holiness, Isaiah's first reaction isn't excitement or pride. It's terror. He cries out, "Woe is me! I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." This moment is so raw, so human. Before Isaiah could even think about being a messenger for God, he was crushed by the weight of his own imperfections. He saw the vast gulf between his humanity and God's divinity. This is the first crucial lesson from his calling. True spiritual leadership begins with humility and authenticity. It's not about pretending to have it all together. It's about honestly confronting our own flaws, our unclean lips, and acknowledging our need for grace. So often, we think we need to be perfect before we can be used for a greater purpose. Isaiah's story tells us the exact opposite. Starting point is admitting we're not perfect. But the story doesn't end with Isaiah's despair. What happens next is beautiful. A seraph, one of the angelic beings, flies to him with a burning coal taken from the altar. The seraph touches Isaiah's lips and declares, "Behold, this has touched your lips. Your guilt is taken away, and your sin atoned for." This isn't just a symbolic act. It's a profound experience of divine grace. The very thing Isaiah identified as his source of unworthiness, his speech. His unclean lips is the very thing that is purified. God doesn't just forgive him. He cleanses and equips him. This teaches us that our greatest perceived weaknesses, when surrendered to the divine, can be transformed into our greatest strengths. It's only after this moment of confession and purification that Isaiah hears the pivotal question from God: "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Notice God doesn't command or coerce him. It's an open invitation. And Isaiah's response, now cleansed and restored, is immediate and wholehearted. "Here I am, send me." These three simple words, "Here I am," have echoed through centuries, becoming a model of availability and obedience. It's a response born not from self-confidence, but from a newfound confidence in the God who has just transformed him. He didn't say, "I'm qualified, send me," or "I have a great plan, send me." He simply made himself available. This shows us that answering a call is less about our ability and more about our availability. Are we willing to show up just as we are and say, "Here I am"? Are we willing to let our personal encounters with grace redefine our purpose? The vision in the temple wasn't just a spectacular light show for Isaiah. It was a life-altering encounter that took him from being an ordinary man in a crowd to a commissioned prophet of God. His identity was completely reforged in that moment. So, what does this mean for us today in our own lives? We may not see a vision in a temple with burning coals, but we all have moments where we feel that coal and nudge to help a neighbor, a desire to start a new project for good, a pull to step into a leadership role, or simply a feeling that we're meant for more. And just like Isaiah, we often feel the woe is me part first. We see our own shortcomings, our unclean lips, our past mistakes. Isaiah's journey encourages us to lean into that process, to be authentic about our imperfections, to be open to the purifying power of grace that meets us right where we are, and to listen for that question: who will go? When we experience that grace, our fear can transform into courage. Our feelings of inadequacy can be replaced by a simple, powerful willingness to be available. So the next time you feel that tug on your heart, remember Isaiah. Remember that it's not about being perfect, it's about being present. It's about being brave enough to look at your own imperfections. Accept the grace that's offered, and then, the heart full of gratitude and new purpose, stand up and say, "Here I am, send me." Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that explores these timeless truths. See you in the next video.